record. This one for Mr. Pepper. There are concerns within the water sector that funding decisions that are prioritizing environmental justice factors are unrelated to water quality and health. This could potentially impact the affordability of water services for rural communities, which already face unique challenges such as limited funding, technical expertise, and resources. The question is this: do you believe the emphasis on non-water infrastructure policies and potential biases that are related to environmental justice decision-making might affect affordability of water services in rural areas?
Thank you for that question. Yeah. And I guess from the West and from my perspective, a lot of the issue that we have is define disadvantaged or environmental justice centers or constituents. And I would contend that a lot of rural America, whether it's Northeast, South, or West, works with those. We have a declining population base in a lot of those areas, which further puts strain on affordability in those small communities, aging communities, and disadvantaged, I believe, can be socioeconomic. And that crosses all races and goes into how do we look at that on a countrywide basis as opposed to certain pockets. So yes, some of those biases, I think, can play into the affordability index and makes it far difficult to define more than anything.
Yeah, the question comes from someone who is concerned that environmental justice is being used as a term to steer resources towards low-income urban areas at the expense of rural areas. Mr. Jones, do you see that?
I haven't seen that so much in California. I think the communities we work with are certainly both rural and environmental justice communities.
So as you deform rural, so you distinguish, you separate it. There's rural and there's environmental justice communities.
And a community could be both.
Okay.
For sure. And I think, and maybe that, the disadvantaged community definition we use in California is 80% statewide income level. And so certainly for the Valley and areas that we primarily work in, most communities are able to qualify, unfortunately, just because of the level of income inequality in the state.
Okay.
But I haven't seen so much of a dynamic there in California, at least.
Mr. Pepper, any closing remarks on that point?
I think he hit it very well in that it just depends on the level of income in any area. In our state of Wyoming, there's several counties that are impacted in low income, but define lower income. A lot of those are ag related, so there's a different accounting in an ag business than there is in residential. So I think it comes back down to definitions. And I would say that it does appear in some respects, even in Wyoming, some of the urban thrust versus the rural thrust is there. So that should be addressed.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back, and I want to thank the witnesses for attending today and providing your expertise to the subcommittee.